Imagine a financial system that operates entirely out in the open. There is no central manager and no police force. Instead, the network relies on thousands of independent, self-interested strangers to process every single transaction. Keeping a global ledger alive requires immense physical resources. The people doing this work operate massive banks of high-end hardware, and they burn through staggering amounts of electricity. They have heavy bills to pay, and they certainly aren't processing these transactions out of the goodness of their hearts. Which creates an obvious tension. If nobody is forcing these operators to be honest, and their only motivation is profit, why don't they just steal the money? Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin, recognized this exact problem. His solution was brilliant because he didn't attempt to suppress human greed. Instead, he designed a system that relies entirely on greed to keep itself secure. We call this incentive alignment. When you write the rules so that the absolute easiest way to get rich is to play fair, and the fastest guaranteed way to go bankrupt is to cheat, the network runs itself. This animated diagram shows how network operators, known as miners or validators, get paid. They rely on two distinct income streams. The first is a block reward, a bounty of newly minted cryptocurrency given to the person who successfully adds a new block to the chain. The second is transaction fees, which act as a priority service charge paid directly by the users who want their transfers processed quickly. But there is a strict barrier to entry. Before a miner can earn a single fraction of a coin from those streams, they must invest heavily in specialized custom hardware and consume massive amounts of energy upfront. Economists refer to this upfront cost as a credible commitment. By spending real money on physical equipment and power, the operator proves to a network that they have literal skin in the game. This decision tree charts out the resulting miner's dilemma. Option A is to follow the rules. By validating transactions honestly, the miner receives a guaranteed, reliable payout of block rewards and fees, which easily covers their overhead and generates a steady profit. Option B is to try and cheat. The miner might attempt to record a fake transaction to double spend money, sending the same digital coin to two different places at once. The trap instantly snaps shut. The rest of the network immediately detects the invalid block and rejects the work entirely. The miner earns exactly zero rewards for their effort, but they still had to run their machines at full capacity, meaning they just burned massive amounts of electricity and hardware lifespan for nothing. If a bank employee alters a record, they might face consequences months later after an audit. In a blockchain, the cost of the crime is exacted upfront and automatically. The math ensures that attempting to trick the network is financial suicide, but there is an obvious theoretical vulnerability. What happens if a single entity simply buys enough computing power to outvote the entire network and approve their own fraudulent transactions? This is known as a 51% attack. Pulling that off on a mature network like Bitcoin requires a staggering physical footprint. You would need to purchase upwards of $10 billion worth of specialized machines and then spend over $1.5 million every single hour to power them. This graph illustrates the paradox that neutralizes the threat. Let's say you manage to reach that 51% threshold and start rewriting the ledger to steal coins. The network is completely public. The moment the attack is visible, the global trust in that blockchain would vanish instantly, sending the market value of the coin to zero. You would spend billions of dollars to break into the ultimate digital vault, only to find the very act of breaking in turns the gold inside into useless lead. When you align the incentives correctly, the logic is pristine. Make honesty profitable and cheating painfully expensive. But this clean, perfect math only survives out in the wild if human behavior matches the model's initial assumptions. This cyclical flowchart maps the economy of Axie Infinity, a massive play-to-earn game. The pitch was incredibly effective. The system paid users a real income in tokens just for playing. By late 2021, over 2.5 million people were logging in daily, creating a thriving digital economy. The fatal flaw was hidden in the design. The entire token economy relied on one uncontrollable variable: infinite exponential growth. The math required a constant stream of brand new players arriving every day to buy assets at ever-increasing prices. The moment that influx of new players naturally slowed down, the underlying math flipped. The existing players were still generating massive amounts of tokens, exploding the supply, while the demand entirely vanished. The value of the token crashed, wiping out real earnings and causing the daily active user base to completely collapse. We see similar failures on established infrastructure. On the Solana network, a delegation platform ran an auction model with a poorly designed loophole. Validators quickly realized they could bid extremely high to win stake allocations, and then quietly lower their bids afterward. They technically followed the rules of the smart contract, but entirely bypassed the intended design to extract thousands of tokens from the system. Blockchains are remarkable precisely because they coordinate millions of strangers without the central manager, but code does not govern reality. A decentralized system can protect itself from almost anything, but it will only ever be as strong as the human assumptions